Rally for Higher Education will be taking place on February 7th, 2012. The title of this could also be Postsecondary Budget Review. But we'll start with Rally for Higher Education. These are the facts. Rally for Higher Education is put on by the Board of Student Body Presidents. In attendance will be representatives from the University of Kentucky, Morehead State University, Kentucky State University, University of Louisville, Murray State University, Eastern Kentucky University, Northern Kentucky University, and Western Kentucky University. Also in attendance will be members of the Council on Postsecondary Education, State Representative Quarles, State Representative Henderson, State Representative Hall, and State Representative Flood. The major issue this year is the proposed fiscal 2014 budget. The budget calls for a 6.4% budget reduction in post-secondary education. This is equivalent to a $62 million cut. President Whitlock released a statement on Wednesday, January 18th. In his statement, he stated the proposed budget will not have an impact on the university's operational budget. However, EKU did not show favorable enrollment in the fall 2011 and was down 1.6%. Preliminary spring enrollment does not indicate that Eastern Kentucky University has been able to recover from the fall. This means that the university will suffer a tuition shortfall of $3 million. President Whitlock has instituted an immediate freeze on new staff and faculty hires. This includes positions that are already underway. Because our budget is personnel intensive, there is no way to deal with the situation without a reduction in employees. He is directing the university to achieve all possible savings throughout the current year. This includes all operating and capital purchases. Additionally, from President Whitlock, he stated, for the 2012-2013 budget, we must follow the following principles. There must be a balanced consideration of the needs of the institution to provide instruction into service and the ability of the students to pay. A reduction this size cannot be fully transferred to the backs of our students. Priority must be given to preserving the core mission of the institution. While there will certainly be shared pain, we cannot address this with an across-the-board cut approach. With that in mind, I think it's important for us to look at the big picture. In order to do that, we need to look back through the state budgets. Looking at this graph, the blue that you see on the bottom is how much the state gave in its budget to post-secondary education per full-time equivalent. The red is how much students pay per full-time equivalent. Now please keep in mind, this is an average based on all public state universities. Lastly, the green line represents how many degrees and credentials have been conferred for the given fiscal year. The reason that we start with fiscal year 99 is because that is when House Bill 1 under Governor Patton set in motion to bring up our universities to better than what they were and to provide state funding adequate enough to send students to school. Now, when we glance at fiscal year 99, the average state appropriation was $10,038, while the average student paid $4,938 in tuition. This means that the total cost of education in fiscal year 99 was $14,976 per full-time equivalent. Now let's look at the most recent fiscal year 10. As you can see, state appropriations have dropped to $6,405 from $10,038. That's a difference of $3,633 in the average state appropriations per full-time equivalent. In addition, the average student tuition in fiscal year 10 has risen to $8,023 from $4,938 in fiscal year 99, which is an increase of $3,085 to the student's back. That means that the total cost of education in fiscal year 10 is $14,428. Now let's go back to that bar graph. One more thing we can notice is that in fiscal year 99, 22,058 degrees and credentials were conferred. In fiscal year 10, 48,525 degrees and credentials were conferred. That is an increase of 26,487 degrees and credentials, almost double. Also, when you look at the cost of education per full-time equivalent in fiscal year 99 and the cost of education in fiscal year 10, what do you notice? You notice that the cost of education per full-time equivalent has dropped. Now take note, there is a difference between cost of education and price of education. The cost of education has gone down, while the price of education, which is the tuition, has risen dramatically. Looking at these two different pie charts, the one on the left is fiscal year 99, and the one on the right is the proposed fiscal year 2014 budget. Take note, in fiscal year 99, the budget was $6 billion, and in fiscal year 14, the budget is $9.8 billion. Additionally, take a moment to look and see how the budget is split up and their differences. The two portions you want to look at are the green and the red portions, which is what makes up post-secondary education. Now, if in fiscal year 2014 we were able to retain the 14.6% piece of the pie instead of the proposed 12.2%, public post-secondary education would have generated approximately $230 million more in stated support for higher education. Additionally, if public post-secondary education had the same funding per full-time equivalent student in fiscal 14 that it had in fiscal year 99, it would generate approximately $734 million more in state support for higher education. Based on projected student enrollment full-time equivalent of 165,000 for fiscal year 2014, state funding per full-time equivalent will decrease by approximately $4,500 per student. This is a 45% reduction since fiscal year 99. Now this graph shows the potential reductions in 2012-2013 academic year based on the proposed 6.4% reductions to post-secondary schools. I have highlighted Eastern Kentucky University in the maroon boxes. For these purposes, I'm only going to focus on the Eastern Kentucky University row. If you look at the 2011-2012 revised net general fund, EKU received $70,823,000 from that state general fund. The next column shows you the added value of the 2011-2012 general fund reduction. EKU received an additional $1,398,000 from state appropriations. So, the next column, 2011-2012 adjusted net general fund baseline, shows the sum of the first two columns, showing the total received in state appropriations. EKU received a total of $72,301,000 for 2011-2012. Now to move on to the depressing news based on the potential reductions in 2012-2013 funds. The column titled Executive Budget Proposed 6.4% General Funds Reduction shows how much money each institution would be cut. Eastern Kentucky University would be losing $4,654,300 from state appropriations. We will skip the column increases in M&O cost for new facilities, as this does not apply to us this year. Looking at the next column titled Increases in KERS and KTRS contributions shows increases in employer retirement contributions and health insurance premiums associated with required KERS and KTRS rate increases. Eastern Kentucky University will fork out an additional $802,100. Moving on to the column titled Other Fixed Costs increases shows estimated increases in other necessary fixed costs, such as utilities, contract obligations, workers' compensation, and unemployment compensation. Eastern's estimate is $5,946,500. Finally, the last column shows the total potential reductions. For Eastern Kentucky University, it is a total reduction estimate of $11,375,900. With cuts like these, university will be forced to increase tuition to fill in the missing holes, or find other avenues of filling the gap. This table shows us how much the university will make in profit with a 1%, 3%, 5%, and 7% raise in tuition, not including where tuition currently stands. So with a 7% increase, the university will bring in only $4,529,700 to fill a hole of $11,375,900. Looking at these two graphs together, you can see that even with a 7% increase in tuition, Eastern Kentucky University will come up $6,846,200 short, which is a 60% shortfall. Additionally, if the public post-secondary institutions as a whole increase their tuition as a whole by 7%, that would be a $60,995,900 profit. I still don't fill the hole of $131,465,300. They come up short roughly $70,500,000. Now, the Council on Post-Secondary Education, who is the final body to approve tuition increases, has historically limited the percent that a university can increase tuition. For the KC-TCS system, they have traditionally limited it to 4%. For comprehensive institutions, Eastern Kentucky University is a comprehensive institution. They have limited tuition increases to 6%. And for research institutions, University of Kentucky and University of Louisville are the only two research institutions in Kentucky. They are limited to a 7% increase. Now that is historically. The Council on Post-Secondary Education has stated that they will have to increase that limit if the budget is approved. Universities will not be able to stay stable at the current rate. So I hope with this brief part of that presentation, you've been able to understand how serious this really is. I do want to go back to the chart with the pie graphs. Looking at this, there are cuts everywhere except what two slices between fiscal year 99 and fiscal year 2014. Medicaid benefits and justice and public safety are the only two pieces of the pie that are receiving budget increases, and pretty substantial increases from fiscal year 99 to fiscal year 2014. Now, if you will, Medicaid benefits, or medical care for the poor, injustice and public safety are symptoms of what? They are symptoms of poverty. So, do you see what is really going on here? We are increasing the budget for the symptoms of poverty and taking money away from the cure that would solve the disease. I hope that makes sense. So, what is next? It's time to get political. The power is in numbers. Everyone needs to both write and call their state representatives. In addition, you need to get everyone you know to both write and call your state representatives. It is also a good idea to have people's parents, grandparents, and siblings write and call their state representatives. If you need help finding who your state representative is, please stop by the SGA office and we will be able to assist. Additionally, if you have not done so already, you need to sign the petition created by the Board of Student Body Presidents. If you are friends with me on Facebook, you should have already received a link from me for the petition. There is also a link that has been sent out in the SGA weekly email. If you do not have access to this link, please stop by the SGA office. I would also like to encourage everyone to forward that link to all your Facebook friends and to tell everyone in your classes about that. Furthermore, I encourage both the Academic Affairs Committee and the Student Rights Committee to either work together or independently on spreading awareness about the proposed budget. In addition, I would like to see the two committees working to be proactive, working with the appropriate bodies to find alternatives to cover the gap. I believe it would be good for the Student Senate to be prepared to recommend some Plan B options to help offset the potential rising increases in tuition. Thank you.